Hello everyone, I'm Rose Jacobs and welcome to Executive Corner Expert Talks, a quick roundup with Mr. Matt Holme, founder and CEO of YouPay. In Expert Talks, we bring you industry leaders, successful business owners, market and equity advocates all under one roof to help you discover the insights of the stock markets and help you understand how you can create multiple passive income streams. In today's show, we're speaking with Mr. Matt Holme, founder and CEO of YouPay. Welcome, Matt. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks so much, Rose. Great to meet you as well.
Now, from what I understand, YouPay was born in 2020. It's a relatively new organisation, and it was born out of a need to create a new option, an alternative to the likes of buy now, pay later. And rather than encouraging people to pay for 1/4 of a purchase up front, potentially accruing fees as well, this platform empowers shoppers and sends private payment links to friends and family. That's a pretty unique concept.
It is, yeah, and that's exactly right. It was born back in 2020, just one of those classic origin stories, I guess. So it was about June 2020, during one of the many pandemic-related lockdowns here in Australia, when I said to my wife, I'd like to buy you a gift. So she went shopping, as you'd anticipate. She went to an e-commerce store that she liked to frequent. She put together an online shopping cart with an item she wanted, had all of her shapes and sizes and options all defined, all her shipping ready to go, all of her loyalty points, and she said, I'll share my cart with you. Now, I come from a web development background, so I immediately understood that technically she couldn't take her cart from her device, her phone, over to my device. So I basically had to take the phone out of her hand to put in the MasterCard that I wanted to use. And it was at that point in time, it dawned on us that there really wasn't any way for an external person, someone else other than the shopper, to complete that very final step of the shopping journey, the payment. So we went ahead and built a prototype and very quickly started getting some results, which was very exciting.
Well, you've highlighted two of my favorite areas in life. One is online shopping and two is having other people pay for it. So I can absolutely see that you've identified a real need in the market for this. So that was your real motivator for introducing the new way of making payments online, and what a great discovery and a good backstory as well. In today's market that's overpowered by high inflation, taking care of the financial future becomes a challenging aspect for so many shoppers. So how is YouPay avoiding that bad debt payment method?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, as you'll know, if you go shopping today at any e-commerce store in the world, the only way you can receive external funding is through some type of financial institution's debt-based system. So of course, you can choose a buy now, pay later provider to receive that type of external funding. So what YouPay does is connect those shoppers with real people in their personal network as that form of external funding. And the big thing about that is, we're not looking to replace buy now, pay later. We're actually just looking to complement the merchant and the existing payment options. And for those scenarios where, for whatever reason it may be, the shopper's made the conscious decision that they don't wish to go down a debt path, there is a real way to have that conversation with a real person and receive that external funding from a real person, just like what happened in that origin story there, where I was able to make payment for my wife. Basically, we're empowering merchants all around the world to be able to offer that to their shoppers and have someone else come into the checkout and make the payment for them.
Do you have an option, just spitballing here, but do you have an option where you also have that automated invitation to someone to make that purchase on your behalf?
Yeah, there's lots of things we can do with it. So I guess what we're describing to you today with that kind of two-party payment system is really just the very tip of the iceberg in relation to what we're doing at YouPay, from exactly as you said, making it easy for the shopper to connect with a payer, from split payments, being able to empower the shopper to maybe make a part payment themselves and then have another entity come in and make the payment, all the way through to a shared cart where potentially you could go ahead, or what you will be able to do in the future with YouPay is effectively put together a wish list for all of the items that you may wish to receive for your birthday, and then have multiple people actually contribute to payment. Maybe I pay for one thing, another person pays for another. So it's exciting that this kind of foundation product that we've built today has so much more to deliver in the future, which is really exciting for the business.
Well, you've definitely tapped into a very high demand situation there with special events, not to mention just the birthday scenario, but things like wedding registries. baby showers. The list is just endless. It's a very clever concept.
Yeah, that's the feedback we've been receiving. So it's almost like we've created the gift registry for your life. So it can be seen as almost like a permanent place to be putting things that you'd like to receive. And I guess kind of taking away the heavy lifting and the uncertainty that exists on the gifter's side. So I know when I'm thinking about what I'm going to purchase for people in my network, it's often quite a daunting experience to think, what is it that person wants? Whereas having the luxury of being able to go and find out that exactly what you'll be purchasing is genuinely something that will be put to good use by the recipient. It really, it takes the heavy lifting away from the gifter, and it actually ultimately ends up reducing the amount of waste as well, because I think statistically something like 60% of all gifts that are received actually end up going to waste because they're not ultimately what someone wants. So in a certain way, YouPay is actually being used to reduce wasted gifts, which is terrific to see.
Taking it one step further, could you even use YouPay for a gift voucher? So it's not a specific item, but still, an option of items that could be put on hold for a certain amount of time.
Well, it's interesting you say that. We actually, the way we present YouPay is that we're actually a vast improvement on a merchant's gift voucher system. So without a doubt, a retailer will always continue to offer gift vouchers, but in many respects, the way we see a gift voucher is it's almost kind of a very disconnected experience. If I give my friend $100 gift voucher to spend at the store, I get no exposure to whether, really first and foremost, whether that store is somewhere where they would genuinely like to shop or exactly what that money is going to be used for. Whereas if you reverse that model and you use YouPay, I get that exposure to exactly where my friend would want to shop, exactly what my friend would like to purchase. And for the merchant's benefit, I'm able to give them the exact amount of money that particular item costs. So as an example, Kalkine is one of the stores where we have YouPay up and running. Now, if my son said to me, Dad, I need a pair of shoes at Kalkine, and I just gave him a gift voucher, maybe I'll give him $100. But potentially that pair of shoes might cost $115. So with YouPay, I'd get exposure to exactly what my son wants. He'd be able to pick out the size, and ultimately I'd be funding that purchase for $115, ensuring exactly that product can be paid for.
Could it also be a very clever way that parents could monitor their children's spending?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a massive use case we're seeing play out on a daily basis. I've got 3 young children myself, and that's a very real scenario where YouPay is not just a way to get pre-purchase exposure and fund your kids' transactions, but it's also a way to open up a conversation around financial wellness. So once again, using an example of my son shopping at a store, let's say if he was to send me a YouPay link for a $400 pair of shoes, very quickly he'd be getting a bit of an education lesson from Dad to say that you shouldn't be shopping for a $400 pair of shoes. Maybe go back to square one, send me over a YouPay link for a more reasonably priced pair of shoes. And not only are we talking about financial wellness there, but I'm also getting a bit of an insight into what my son likes, at an impressionable age, going into almost being a teenager, to get that little bit of an insight. This is the type of shoes that he likes. It's not just a payment option, it's a conversation starter as well. Yeah.
And you could even translate that to married couples who want to have more transparency around funding and as you've said, financial wellness, and that conversation about accountability and where finances are going within a family budget. It's a very clever idea.
Yeah, no, glad you see it that way. And I think what you're doing here is traditionally what happens when we present YouPay to customers is that whether you're a parent looking to monitor and approve your kids' spending, whether you're a partner, a couple, where you see the convenience of gifting, or even whether you're a business and you're the accounts department and you see the convenience of having the team disperse a series of YouPay links to the accounts department to make the approvals for business expenses. Pretty much everybody for that matter that you present YouPay to immediately has a way of associating it with some type of event that resonates with their lifestyle, which I know is quite unique. Traditionally, when you build a product or a startup, you're talking to a very niche market, a very unique use segment. Whereas with YouPay, as long as you're in some way an online shopper or some way a consumer of goods, you pretty much always have a way that you can use YouPay.
And let's face it, this absolutely is the direction we're going in. It's not going to go backwards anytime soon. Now, obviously, we've mentioned several benefits for the purchaser, but what about in terms of significant benefits for the retailers from their perspective? How is YouPay really helping out our retailers?
Yeah, and that's a terrific question. There's a couple of real obvious benefits for a retailer and why they should offer YouPay. Statistically, shoppers put a lot of products in their shopping cart, but no more than about screaming tops 20% of those actually convert into sales. So what that leaves is 80% of those carts end up being abandoned. Now, offering YouPay inside the shopping cart just really opens up the conversation and changes the narrative. So instead of it having to be a single player shopping experience where the only option is for you to make the purchase yourself, if for whatever reason you don't want to make the purchase yourself, instead of abandoning cart, there's a YouPay button sitting there now, basically saying there's an opportunity for other people in your personal network to come in and make the payment for you. So that's a big opportunity there for merchants. The other benefit for a merchant is quite obvious, that when a payer is brought in to make the payment, the merchant's actually acquiring two customers with every order. So instead of it just being that single customer connected to an order, you're actually getting two customers attached to that same order. And then if you accelerate that even further into the future, once we have split payments in place, there could even be a scenario where a young person could go shopping for their birthday. Effectively, the entire family could be onboarded as a customer, all stemming from that one YouPay link generated by the young person when they were shopping for their birthday. So YouPay is an extremely powerful customer acquisition tool for merchants.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a young shopper, but it is my birthday next week. So my mum has asked me, what do I want for my birthday? I think this could be the perfect platform for me to subtly mention something and to actually give this a go. Sounds like
I completely agree. You should go to the website, check out our stores list, and absolutely do exactly that. You know, there's absolutely no harm in creating a YouPay link as well. It's just literally a way of creating a more modern list. Instead of just sending over a series of empty links or even just some text, it's all about just kind of really identifying exactly what you want and, you know, taking away that burden and heavy lifting from the gifter and giving them that peace of mind that in your case, this is exactly what Rose wants for her birthday.
This is sounding better by the minute, Matt. Now, I also want to know, what are some of the most common mistakes that you've seen from buyers when they're shopping online?
Yeah, no, it's kind of like a big driving force behind why I'm doing this. Like I said, 3 young children growing up, the oldest one starting to explore e-commerce and how to buy things in the 21st century. You know, and it's like I said, the only way prior to YouPay that he could have potentially had an alternate form of funding would be to go down the debt path. And you know what we're learning from reports coming out of ASIC is upwards of 20% of people who are in buy now, pay later relationships are finding themselves unable to pay for, you know, just kind of staple items, therefore going other important repayments to stay on top of those. So I think it's all about being, I guess, smarter with your budget. And if you see an opportunity to buy a pair of shoes for $50, that can be, and pay it off in 4 installments, that can be encouraging on day one. But if you end up buying 5 pairs of shoes over the next week and you're able to fund that with the $250, you've ultimately built up a recurring debt of $250 per fortnight, which can very quickly get out of control. So as I said earlier, at present, there's really no other way of consuming those products unless you completely stop, which is, of course, you know, difficult for shoppers. Whereas if the YouPay gets slid into the equation there's just another option that says, look, if you do really need those shoes, maybe there's someone else in your support network who can help you out there. And I guess, encouragingly, that other real person can give you a subjective opinion. Maybe that other real person says, hey, I've seen you've actually purchased 4 pair of shoes in the past week. Do you really need this 5th pair of shoes? And that could be that education piece, and that could be ultimately the solution to the problem could be a talk with that person on the other end of the line that all started from that YouPay link.
So financial literacy is really an area that could grow as a result of this. It sounds very encouraging, particularly for our younger generations that are really starting to get their heads around this, and to avoid certain pay schemes like the buy now, pay later. It's very encouraging. And so how do you see, or how do you envision the near-term future of e-commerce? In your opinion, what are the trends that people should really start to look out for? An insight into the future here, if you will, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, from the merchant's perspective, there's clearly going to be, and it's already happening, a consolidation of these payment options. So there's clear that there needs to be three payment segments. We represent the new third payment segment. By that, I mean the first payment segment is instant payment. Always been there. Visa, MasterCard, PayPal. They'll continue to be there when you just wish to pay up front for yourself. In more recent times, there's been buy now, pay later as the second segment. And what we're doing at YouPay is introducing the new third segment, which is shared payments, where a real person in your support network can assist you at the checkout. Now, going back to that second segment, that's where there's going to be a huge amount of consolidation, because you go to the average checkout these days, like I said, there's your basic Visa, MasterCard, PayPal. And some checkouts have, it's almost like a NASCAR race of colors going off from various different buy now, pay later providers who effectively really offer the same type of service. One offers to split it in 4, the next offers to split it in 6, the other allows you to pay it off. But at the end of the day, they all do the same thing. So I think the big shift is going to be that kind of consolidation of buy now, pay later providers, which I think will be a good thing for customers. That really, hopefully, our goal is to allow for any customer in the future to go in really thinking that there's 3 ways to pay. Pay for yourself up front, go down the buy now, pay later path if you want, or go with the shared payments option, which is what we're introducing.
It sounds like a real return to a sense of community, which is a wonderful way to be. Final question for you. Can people invest in YouPay?
Are you interested?
I certainly am. This to me sounds like a no-brainer. I can imagine many people out there as well would be interested.
So yeah, of course. So we obviously have kind of big plans for YouPay. The exciting thing is what we're doing here in Australia is to put my, founder investor sales pitch hat on. It's globally scalable from day one. So the results that we're seeing of customers creating YouPay links, converting, creators creating YouPay links to empower themselves and influencers and Twitch streamers, etc. has been really compelling results we've been seeing come through. All of this that we're seeing here in the Australian market can easily be picked up and placed in any market, whether it's North America to Europe. It's a very scalable product. So yeah, we do have big plans and we do have future rounds of funding upcoming. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So from an investment perspective, if you see yourself being able to add value to our journey that we're on, please do reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Matt Holme and from YouPay. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you for today, Matt, and I really thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Rose.
And that's it for now from Expert Talks. You're watching Kalkine. I'm Rose Jacobs. Thank you again for joining me.